Hi guys, Thogrey here for a new video, and this video will be a Unholy DK PVP guide video for Season 3 of Shadowlands. Here we are, it is for arenas, RBGs, everything, talents PvP, talents Legos, like the build that you will play to get insane rating. Also, which comps you can play, also how do you need to do your rotation, and last but not least, how is it in the current meta? Like Unholy DK in 2s, Unholy DK in 3s, where did it stand? I did a 2v2 tier list video previous Wednesday, and of course I've put DKs at A tier, and I really stand my ground. It is very strong, it counters every casters. Um, it has difficulties with some matchups, but Rogue Mage, they instantly die. They need to ice block like first second or else they die. They need to go on your healer instead of you, so it's a bit of a relief since your healer will always be able to be actually healing himself or you. So it's all good. I'm going to start with, of course, the talents. So you see my sweet Unholy DK. That mug is just fantastic. I don't know if you appreciate my mug, but look at those details, man. Those details. Alright, so let's start with the talent section. I'm going to be short and sweet. I'm going to discuss only one build because the second build is also good, but it deserves a video by itself, or else this video will be 1 hour long. So I take Infected Claws at the first row. Why? Because it is easier to maintain Festering Wounds, but also we are trying to spam those Festering Wounds with your Scourge Strike. You want to apply that 4 set. That 4 set is just fantastic, and at the moment I'm only with a 2 set, and sometimes when it procs, I see already before my eyes how people will panic when they see those ghouls doing 50% more damage on them. So that's actually insane. So Infected Claws, very nice. It is a passive, you just toggle and forget. It's very strong. All Will Serve, never played it, but I guess you have some synergy with Unholy Blight and with your Legendary and such. But I feel like it needs testing, but I'm not playing with this. You can play with Clawing Shadows if you feel you are getting kited a lot, but you can actually help your kiting with Wraithwalk that you will see on the 40 row. And in general, your healer will try to dispel those annoying roots or annoying kiting measures that some people can have versus you. Second row, you can play Bursting Swords or Unholy Blight. Even Fever, I feel like it is not the meta to play with, and also it has a lot of bad damage. Like bad damage, when I'm saying bad damage, it is actually damage that you can ignore. It has lots of damage on the damage done section, but in general, people will not die just because of the Verdant Plague. It could be, but in this current meta, I feel like you need that extra oomph, especially with Unholy Blight. It improves your minion damage also by 12%, and then you have the 50% or the 10% passively with your 4 set, and then you have your Legendary, and then you have your Unholy Assault. All this combined will make your minions like hit for 4k per hit. It is really, really strong. Sometimes you kill people without even knowing that you are going to kill someone. Dirty Row asphyxiates, you just toggle it and you forget. Pestilent Pustulus, I'll take this. I don't know if I spoke it correctly, but the first talent on the 35 row is for me the best, since you are actually spamming those Festering Wounds. You want them to be depleted and of course replenished. It is very, very strong. You can also play Harbinger of Doom if you feel like you need that Death Coil damage, but often than not, I'm spamming more Death Strike than Death Coil. Death Coil is for the damage, of course, but you are the one that is actually going to get trained a lot, or at least the damage will go for you. So, in 2s, maybe in 3s, I would just stick with Pestilent Pustules because you will more strike more often than you want, and the runic regeneration isn't that good. So I don't know. You could play it because it's free, but I don't know. I feel those 2 charges you will not feel it, and also the proc is very good, but it's only 4k on hit, and you don't crit that much, so it's your choice. I prefer the first one. 40 row, I play with Refwalk, and versus casters, I often and not just play Spell Eater. Versus Warlocks, I play Spell Eater. Versus, I might say Frost Mages, I play just Refwalk because I don't like to get rooted. But versus Fire Mages, I play a Spell Eater with the PvP talent, a Spell Warden. I'm going to discuss afterwards. Very, very strong. I feel like casters just hate you because of AMS, and if you improve AMS even more, then you're just an anti-caster. Like, people will just not kill you, especially with AMZ. You have so many tools to actually not die versus casters. Especially those big burst casters, you just death strike and you gain like your HP back. So I guess it's interesting. It depends. If you feel like there is a lot of AoE damage, Spell Eater can just eat all that damage. I could make like a whole video about Spell Eater, how good it is, and people are just sleeping on it. But very strong, very strong. I've played a lot of games now in twos with a Holy Priest friend, and really I think it saved me countless times versus Distrolux. Like, Distrolux didn't even, like, they were never close to kill me, never. So, Unholy Pact. You toggle it, you forget it because it does a lot of damage. Also, the 5% increase in strength is insane. And also with your legendary and with your, of course, with your Rune of the Fallen Crusader, it's all stacks and you'll do insane damage, like insane damage. Unholy Assault or Army of the Damned or Damned. Unholy Assault is for me the best choice since it is a very bursty meta. If you're doing Unholy Assault, then Apocalypse, and then you go for a Dark Transformation, or at least you do Dark Transformation, then Unholy Assault, then Apocalypse, then you pop Unholy Blight, then you do your Abomination Limb, and in general people will just die from the get-go or for the second go, and your second go is often without the Abomination Limb, uh, but still you can still kill people really easily. Apocalypse and Unholy Assault have the same CDR, but you reduce the CDR of the Apocalypse because of the conduit, so often than not you will have your Apocalypse around 50 or 55 seconds every time. So you can wait or you burst it again for the necrotic wounds. Okay, let's discuss about the PvP talent. Army of the Damned is nice, but I still prefer, and I really just prefer to have Unholy Assault. I guess you can also scale your Unholy Blight with the Magus of the Dead, which is also very strong with the Frost Balls, Shadow Balls that they are going to throw at an enemy team. But I feel like the 20% haste is very strong, especially haste is a great stat on Unholy. And also those 4 festering wounds on demand helps because you are actually spamming those festering wounds to be bursted, and having those on demand festering wounds is actually appreciated, you know. Alright, PvP talents. You have I play, I would say 80%, 70% of my games with those talents. So Necrotic Aura, Strangulate, because if you're playing versus a healer, it is actually a healer killer. PvP talent wise, Necrotic Wounds, very strong. I mean, people just sleep on it, but it is actually obnoxious to play against. 30% absorption of all healing received. Just imagine if you are actually trying to Serenity someone, it is 30% less healing that you're actually going to give. So they will need to Guardian Spirit and then Serenity if they want to actually heal for something, you know. Very, very strong. Very, very strong. And it is also seconds. So I don't remember how it works because I actually don't really pay attention, but I don't know if it stays 15 seconds or if it removes it after healing done, but I think it's 15 seconds. For 15 seconds you will do 30% less healing, and it will be absorbed if you are going to stack for 6 times, of course. Very, very strong. You can often than not you will remove necrotic aura for example spell warden if you are playing versus a fire mage or frost mage, a warlock. Um, that's it. I'm not going to change my talents for Boomy, for example. I'm not going to. I might change it for a retreat paladin because it's very one-shotty. So if you have a spell warden at that very moment, it can save your life. I play Raise Abomination very often. Often than not versus Rogue Hunter, for example. If there is a Rogue Hunter team in twos, in threes, I don't really play Raise Abomination. It's often Necrotic Aura or Spell Warden. In twos, if they have no healer, I might just remove Strangulate for Raise Abomination, for example, or Spell Warden. It all depends. Rogue Mage, always Strangulate, very strong. Always Necrotic Wounds, very strong because it scales also on the Cauterize. So don't forget about that. So they will just need to Ice Block all the time or else they will just die. You have so many tools. Dome of Ancient Shadow, very strong versus caster teams. If you are in trees, it can save your life, even though the CD is very long. 2 minutes. 2 minutes is very long. I don't play Necromancer Bargain because we are not playing the Apocalypse build, or at least the Death Coil build, because it's a Death Coil build. It's actually also strong, but with the Legendary, with the tier set, the tier set actually gives you the opportunity to play minions, and you should play minions because it's a zoo gameplay, and often not zoos are very strong. Like people will just get overrun by minions, and it is actually very strong. So I will never recommend Necromancer Bargain if you are actually playing with a 4-piece tier set, or if you want to actually have all the time pressure. Of course, it is a fun gameplay. I like to do big Necromancer Bargain damage with Crypt Fever, the constant damage that you can do. But at this moment, the most OP build that you can have with Unholy is the one that I'm playing right now. And Death Echo is not worth it most of the time. Doom Burst is not worth it except if you are playing the Death Coil build. I'm going to see. Yeah, that's it. That's it for PvP talents. Okay, we can switch to the gear section. You see that I'm playing mostly Mastery and Haste. I saw a lot of people that they want to stack as much Haste as possible. A lot of people also want to stack Mastery as much as possible. I would say if you play Frost and Unholy, I would just stack mostly Mastery, a bit of Haste. But if you're playing Unholy only, then you can prioritize Haste until 15 or 16%, and then you can go back to Mastery. Of course, your verse should be as high as possible, but with this season it is not that important. It is still important, but the verse set bonus isn't there anymore for the offensive power. And yeah, it's actually it's fun to actually not rely only for verse because it gives you more builds, more stats that you can actually play around. I still play with the Unity belt 265. Of course, if you can remake the belt in for ring, for example, or neck, it could be better because you have better stats. But in absolute, Abomination Limb very strong with this. I would say legendary, it makes you a legendary Unholy DK. Like the damage is really noticeable. The 20% increased damage plus your legendary that you're going to play, the Dark Transformation legendary, which gives you extra speed, extra damage, it just adds up. Like it's 32%, and then you play with the Unholy Assault, and then you play with the Unholy Blight, which gives you extra minion damage, and then you get the Forset, which gives you 10% more damage on minions, plus a 50% if it's actually procs. All those things combined will just give you a lot of damage. I'm not even speaking about the 15% that you will get from Rune of the Fallen Crusader. Strength is your best stat actually. Dark Transformation, the same, will give you 5% extra damage. All those multiplications will just give you insane damage that sometimes it is just not healable. You will just make them pop CDs, and now it's the work of the healer or the second DPS to actually press the attack and kill people. So very interesting gameplay. I play with the Alacrity Insignia, but of course you can play with the other trinkets like the Resonator, which I'm not really a fan of. I hope it gets nerfed. Or you can play with the Eternal Aegis if you're playing versus classes and you feel like you're going to die. Although, like I said, you should not die versus classes. I think if you're dying, it is because of your teammates dying from them and not you dying from them. So, this is a bit of the gearing section. Of course, you can play with the Masterful rings, I mean the Phaedrum rings 262, which gives you a bit of eye level extra, but also those sweet stats. But if you can remake your unity into a ring, it can be better because those stats would be very high and also your eye level will be a little bit higher. Okay, let's discuss about the legendaries. You have like two options. I'm going to discuss really quickly, but because it's not a video about the Death Sentinel legendary, but you could play it if you are a Death Coil machine and you want to be a Death Coil machine. This is probably the way to go. I still have the legendary, by the way, or I have it in the bank at least, and it is still good. But I feel like if you have the 4 set, you should just play Frenzied Monstrosity. You can also play Pheromones. Not really recommended because you're really not doing only Def and Decay and people will just walk away from it. So I'm not playing that. Actually, you don't really have that many choices. You can also play for the Death's Embrace legendary if you really want to play very safe versus casters. That might be the trick, but I think this is more for if you are going to play 2's DPS, so you're not playing with a healer, then it might be interesting because it heals you, but also, I don't know. And the duration is quite interesting, so it will be around a 10 or 20 seconds if you go for the Spell Eater. 20-second shield could be very interesting versus Affliction Warlock, so maybe it could be interesting for you. So, let's discuss about comps. Real quick, 3s and 2s, you are a machine. People will just need to realize that you are actually better than in 2s, I mean Season 2 or Season 1, but they will realize real quickly. I mean, in 2s, play with a H-Priest or with a H-Pal. You can also play with a Resto Shaman, but they will have difficulties to survive or to make you survive versus melee, for example. They are good versus classes though, so if you're facing a lot of classes in your region, I guess Resto Shaman could be very interesting. But H-Priest is very, very strong. I think they need to nerf Ray of Hope, and they need to buff the other casters and at least diminish the damage of H-Priest, because why pick disc at that moment? H-Pal, very strong. Very good combo. They have a blind, they have a repentance, they have also the stun. If they want to play the stun talent, it gives them actually a lot of agency to give you setups. So H-Pal is very nice, gives you buff, sacrifice. I think those two are the best. Resto Druid, I would not play it because a Cyclone will not get used that much because you are going to cleave, or at least you will try to cleave. Although single target is still the best manner to do damage. You can play with a Mistweaver Monk, but you will lack that extra damage that the healer can give, and also it will get trained a lot and you will not be able to keep up with the mobility. You will have difficulties to actually help your Mistweaver Monk. That's why H-Priest or H-Pal is probably the best. In 3s, you can play with a DH. You can play with... The healers are the same, so H-Priest or H-Pal. You can play... And Mistweaver Monk can also work, I guess, if you're playing TSG, for example. And Resto Druid also a bit, but it is very... yeah, underpowered at this very moment. Burst wise, it will just get very fast with you guys. So you can play with a DH, which is very strong. It is really stupid gameplay. It's pure PvE. You can say that Unholy DK is PvE, but really our rotation is very complex. But DH will just they will give you the edge to actually kill people on the start. You know. They are really not strong versus Rogue Mage, so if you want to be very strong versus Rogue Mage, you play Fury Warrior DK. They have a anti-root in their PvP talents. They just need to look up and pick it instead of just staying with those 3 PvP talents that they actually choose. And you have both root breaks, so actually RMP will not be a problem for you because you are going to cleave that much harder and that much faster. People will just need to pop CDs from the get-go. You can also play with a Shadow Priest. It's a bit less good because the damage from Shadow Priest is not that enviable. It's very bad damage, paddy damage actually. You can play with an Affliction Warlock. Could work because it's the same as the DH. Unholy DK and DH is quite the same because the consistent damage and the consistent pressure that you can give is very high. You can play with a lot of comps actually, even with a Destro, even with a Windwalker, so Walking Dead is very strong, although I think Frost DK is probably better in that comp, but don't quote on me on this because I need to train my Frost DK to see how it goes in trees. I think Frost DK is also good in trees, but in twos it is very bad. I would never recommend over Unholy. If you want to go for rating, if you want to go for fun, maybe if you like Frost DK, then just play Frost DK. It's all good. I would just recommend to play those comps. Of course, they will need to actually invite you, and at the start they will have difficulties to invite you because they don't know the class, they don't know you, they don't know the potential of this class, but this class is very strong, so I recommend it. Of course, yeah, keep in mind you are anti-caster, don't be afraid to go into the fray. Abomination Limb, Unholy Blight, and Unholy Assault are your main big CDs, and then you have the shorter CDs like Dark Transformation and Apocalypse that you can also combine them with those 3 big CDs. And often than not, if you're popping everything, you will be a bit naked for 30 seconds, but you can win a match in 5 seconds. It depends about your healer. If your H-Priest plays like Night Fae, it will reset your CDs a lot faster, but also if they play Venthyr and you have like your damage up, they will not be able to heal themselves. They will need to dispel, and while that dispel is going on, you might kill someone because it's a GCD that they need to use. So they buffed Brutal Grasp and Abomination Limb damage. Very strong. I have still low eye levels, but it doesn't matter. It got buffed. It's very strong. So I pick Brutal Grasp for the damage. So Convocation of the Dead, 1 second, 27% Festering Wounds, very strong. It makes your Festering Wounds actually pop for 6k as a crit and 4k as a normal hit if you're popping every CD. And I'm still not fully geared, so it might be even higher. The eye level is also super low, so imagine if it's higher. I can just imagine the damage I can do. Fleeting Wind, because I like the extra movement speed, but you can also go for Reinforced Shell if you feel like you want an extra radius, but also the extra increased duration. I play with Eternal Hunger because I'm a Dark Transformation build, so I want it to be longer, but also the damage of your minions to be higher. So very strong. I play with Indulating Maneuvers because I like the absorbs from the damage that you are taking. Since the burst is very high, it can help you survive. And I like the CD reduction on Icebound Fortitude, but you can also play with Hardened Bones, which gives you damage reduction on Lichborn. Although I don't feel like you're pressing Lichborn for the damage reduction. But still, I'm playing also for the Deathstrike minimum healing, although you can maybe remove this and go for the Condensed Animasphere, just because you're not pressing that much of Deathstrike. So that's a preference. You can also play Emily if you like the extra movement speed, or if you like the constant damage that it can provide with Postural Eruption, which is also nice damage-wise. And also the 5% extra health on press from Fleshcraft, but pretty much it is the same genre of gameplay. So I've discussed about everything. Now we are going to show you the rotation of Unholy DK, and of course then we will finish the video with it. So be right back. So we are with the PvP dummy, and I'm going to discuss, before I start, I'm going to discuss the tier set because I didn't discuss it. Tier set. Every 5 score strikes that burst Festering Wounds applies Soul Reaper, which can crit for 15k, which can hit for 8k, 6k, which is extra damage, but also summons an Army of the Dead Ghoul, which is empowered by your Unholy Blight, your Forset, but also your overall damage like Strength, the extra damage that you get from your Legendary, the extra damage that you get from Abomination Limb, everything. Alright? And then you have your Forset, which I'm unlucky to not have, but I will can craft the Forset very soon, and then I will just discuss, like I will make a second video with gameplay, so I'm going to discuss play by play how I do damage, but also how I win games. And that Forset is your minions deal 10% increased damage. Passive. So every minion that you're going to throw out, it will do 10% more damage. So if your minion hits for 4k, it will be 4k4. If it hits for 3k, it's going to be 3.3. If it's going to hit for 2k, it's going to be 2.2. So the extra passive active that you will get is when you are going to use that 2 set, is going to have your Soul Reaper's secondary effect triggers. If it's under 35%, that guy is already screwed. He is going to die some way, somehow. But if he survives, the bonus increases to 50%. So from 10 to 50%. So all your minions with Apocalypse, with everything that you're going to put out, it will do 50% more damage for 8 seconds. Trust me, those minions do a lot of damage. This alone will kill anyone. If they don't pop CDs, if they don't bubble, if they don't ice block, that guy is dead. Dead. And it also accumulates with all those multiplications that we have on our gear. The Unholy Blight, the Dark Transformation buff, the Rune of the Fallen Crusader, the Frenzied Regeneration, Dark Transformation, excuse me, and the Abomination Limb. Just imagine the damage it does. Like the second go, you have it up, people will just die. And let's not forget, the minions, they hit like a truck. So I'm going to start with always Fleshcraft, because you want that extra mastery, which gives you 60% more damage, shadow damage and minion damage, which is not negligible. So we start our burst, of course, with the Festering Wounds, so we try to stack it up, and then you pop everything. Bam, bam, and then Abomination Limb, and then Apocalypse, and everyone dies. And then you spam Score Strike. You just spam Score Strike again and again and again. And look at the damage I already done. 14k DPS. 14k. I'm not even talking about a stun. I'm not even talking about a silence. I'm not even talking about an interrupt. I'm not even talking about like AMS that will help you versus any kind of CC that it can produce. So now I've shown you the rotation. I'm going to explain you now with words, because I'm not that good to actually do play by play and show you damage. So I start with putting some Festering Strikes for the Festering Wounds, because I'm not going to start with Unholy Assault, because then I'm just naked. People will just notice that I'm going to burst. So I put Outbreak also out, but you can also go for Unholy Blight. But then it starts. You do Dark Transformation, Unholy Blight, and then apply Unholy Assault, which gives you 20% more haste. And if you are playing with a H-Priest in 2s, they will give you PI, and then you are like set. You're set. You do Abomination Limb, and then you're going for the Score Strike spam. I know sometimes you don't have enough runes. I know sometimes you don't have enough Festering Wounds, but you need to understand that the amount of Festering Wounds that you are going to apply at that very moment, with Apocalypse also removing it, but you can always apply it with Festering Strike, it is just insane, the damage wise. It was 14k, like even higher DPS per second. Like, and this is single target. Imagine if it was AoE. People just panic. They ice block, or they go vanish, or they do like everything in their power to go away from you. And some classes cannot run away from you. Like I'm talking about a resto shaman. I'm talking about a resto, not resto druid. Excuse me. I'm talking about a H pala or a H priest if they don't go up in the sky. And sometimes we grip them without them knowing. So there's a lot of options for you to actually kill people, and often than not, you're just going for the DPS. And sometimes you go for the healer, and on the second go, if they have like no trinkets, you apply like everything you want. You go for Abomination Limp again, and then you pop everything like Dark Transformation, Apocalypse, boom, again. And we are already at 10k DPS again. And of course, let's not forget Soul Reaper. Soul Reaper also doing a lot of damage, and I'm not even force set. Imagine if I was force set at the moment, and people will just fall over. Like, Soul Reaper hit for 11.7k. Of course, it is a dummy. It can always have, it has actually 0% damage reduction, and some people will just have a damage reduction, of course. And so it is the end of the video. We have discussed about talents, PvP talents, comps, covenant, legendaries, gear stats, tier sets. We discussed everything about DK. Of course, we didn't have real situations in arenas, but I'm going to make a video with, of course, commentary on how I win games, or how some situations can make you win games. So thank you for watching this video. Have a great day, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you liked that kind of content. Like the video if you actually liked the video. Comment below if you think you learned something from Unholy DK or from me. And also, in general, are you happy with the current meta? I'm going to say that the actual meta for Unholy DK is actually fantastic. It just needs maybe a bit more gear, maybe force set. Maybe your teammates need to have the force set to also be stronger and to level up. But I think it is actually quite alright. They just need to nerf some things like the trinket and other things. But that's another video, another discussion for another video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and be sure to be safe. Bye.